So I'm with Gary Lamb, CEO of Manx Telecom. I know it's been a hectic few days. I've let things until things were resolved, because clearly it was a work in progress, to say the least. Maybe we should start by, can you take us through the timeline, what exactly happened, what you know so far? Because obviously it's still going on, but
circa 3 days ago, some of our broadband customers, their service was lost. It was about 4,000 customers, which is about between 10-15% of the customer broadband base. We then obviously put all of our resource onto trying to identify the problem and putting a fix in place. We were immediately in contact with Nokia, who supply the network and support the network. So we had all of their expertise with us. We spent literally every hour available trying to resolve the problem and identify the problem. As we publicised, we made some hardware switches, etc., etc. We have redundancy in the network, as you would expect, but I think what's important to realise here is that it was between 10 and 15% of the subscribers that were down. When you don't know what the fault is, what you don't want to do is replicate that into the redundancy, the resiliency, and create a bigger problem which could have taken everybody off the network. So we very carefully managed the situation until we were very clear what the problem was and how it would be fixed.
Okay, you answered loads of questions there, because that was the thing, because people were expecting you to have a backup plan and nothing happened. But these are only these people concerned, of course. I mean, other people are still on.
So we do have what's known as redundancy,
yeah.
So that when these situations happen, you can switch to another part of the network. That we considered to be too risky until we had identified what the problem was, because we could have created more damage and taken the whole of the broadband network down, and we were not prepared to do that.
So you were fixing, you put a new kit in or something at the time?
We tried new kit. I mean, there are other similar examples in other telcos, in other jurisdictions where these things happen. So this is not unique. It's obviously not ideal, and we do everything we can to try and prevent these things, but they do happen. We just work as hard as we can to try and fix the things as quick as we can.
Your fault or Nokia's?
Well, I mean, we're doing a full investigation now. So one of the things, the most important thing for me was get the service back up for customers. We know how important broadband is. It's a bit like electricity and water. In fact, it's maybe more important than electricity and water.
I think in 20 years it's come that way, hasn't it?
Correct, yeah. So you have to get the customers back up. We did that as quick as we could. Now what I've asked, and this is fairly normal process, is I want to be very clear. What happened? Why did it happen? How did we react to what happened? Which is very important. And what are the learnings and corrective actions that we need to put in place that could prevent this from happening again?
Well, let's deal with the way you dealt with it. I mean, social media was alive with people obviously very unhappy that they weren't getting their services. Do you think you reacted quickly enough? You brought in a few things, but other competitors who were also down, I guess, seemed to be slightly ahead of you, maybe, or do you not accept that?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a huge amount going on and a lot of focus on trying to resolve the issue. I think that we communicated reasonably well, so that people were aware there was a problem and that we were trying to fix it. And then we put a number of measures in place to try and help our customers. It's a challenging one, isn't it? Because you hope and expect that the problem is going to be solved relatively quickly. So we got to a point where we thought, look, it is unclear when this will be resolved, therefore we'll take a number of actions to try and help our customers, like providing emergency SIMs, opening up the hub here so that those that need the service, critical service, they could come in here. Also some credits for people who've been using their mobile devices as a compensation for using their broadband that wasn't working.
Because it affected businesses in quite a drastic way, I guess, if people are used to taking, needing a communication for their chip and pin or whatever it is.
Yeah, so interestingly, some businesses got impacted. So it was broadband, so it's the copper-based and fibre-based broadband. The bigger businesses would usually have their own connectivity. So smaller businesses, some of them would have been affected. Some of those businesses, in fact many consumers, would have used their mobile devices to help them connect to the internet. So I think many would have had some kind of service, but not the broadband service that they usually would have.
And I was thinking about petrol stations and post offices particularly. They seem to be people who could only just deal with cash for a while, or 2 days worth, I suppose.
Yeah, so we dealt with a number of our customers who had some issues, and we tried to help them by putting other ways of receiving payment in place and giving them all the support we could to make sure they could get through it.
Okay, should we deal with some of those sort of rumours that run? I mean, it wasn't a cyber attack?
It was not a cyber attack, no.
No one's interested in the Isle of Man, or just it would have been everyone, would it?
Well, it wasn't a hack. It's as simple as that.
And then I know Huawei having their final last hurrah with you because you were Huawei and now you've gone to Nokia. Is that in?
No. So if we look at Huawei, provide the mobile network, which is a different network to the broadband network. The broadband network is provided by Nokia. So Huawei have nothing to do with the broadband network. So any rumours out there,
it's a great story.
Look, there were lots of interesting comments and stories in the social media. It's what happens when something like this occurs. No connection with Huawei whatsoever.
But I mean, people were ringing your number and they were being told to look at a website, and people were saying, "Well, we can't get the website because we've got no internet." I mean, you feel you're caught with your pants down on getting people, connecting with people that need to talk to you.
Most people have a mobile and can connect to the internet.
Right.
It is not as easy to use, maybe, as it might be to be using your broadband and Wi-Fi at home. Okay, so yes, many people will be able to get onto the website and be able to see that. We had lots of calls into the contact centre, which we reconfigured our workforce so that we could take as many calls as we could and give as much guidance and help as we could as possible.
Now, even as we speak, some people, according again, only just looking on your feedback on Facebook and things like that, some people aren't up and running. Is that, you're saying it is all up and running, so is it their end then?
So the service is up and running for everyone. However, I understand there could be a small number of people or houses where if they've rebooted their router or something, they've done something to their router maybe, they may not get back on. What they then need to do is call in and we will help them get back up.
Is this a sticky tape over the thing at the minute, or is this a final fix? Or in other words, will it go off again while you have to do a final changes? Or whatever? So
we are still doing some work, but this is a permanent fix. You know, if you were to ask me, can I guarantee that any of our services will not go down in the future? That's something that no telecoms operator can guarantee. You know, these things do not happen very frequently, thank God. You know, so as far as we're concerned, a permanent fix has been put in place. We would not expect to see this again.
So you haven't rolled back the system. You have gone with this upgrade. It now works.
No, it's not an upgrade. It's just a fix to the issue that we found in the network, or Nokia found in the network.
So they came in to fix a problem which then caused
we have a support arrangement with Nokia, so as soon as anything like this happens, we get in touch with their experts. We had Nokia personnel from all over the world.
Was it your helicopter that came in?
It wasn't. Yeah, I've heard that rumour
as well. That as well, yeah.
It wasn't our Chinook that came in, not connected at all.
Right.
But Nokia, who did a great job for us, they had people all over the world. I've heard Turkey, China, India, UK personnel helping to identify the problem. It's a complex issue. You can imagine the broadband network is complicated, so we had to do a lot of analytics to try and pinpoint the issue, to be able to be certain that we got the issue, and going back to my earlier point, so that we could then use the redundancy that we have in the network and not create a bigger problem.
So it may or may not happen ever again, I accept that, but the lessons to be learned from this are what exactly?
Well, so back to the investigation. Yeah. So once I'm very clear, and we as a team are very clear, what happened, why it happened, and think about how we reacted and what actions we can put in place, you know, we will then put an action plan in place to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure this sort of thing does not happen again.
And it didn't just affect you, it affects other carriers on the Isle of Man because it's your infrastructure they're all using, isn't it?
Yeah, and this might not be commonly known, but we provide the broadband infrastructure to all operators, so we wholesale it to the competition, and of course that means that they are also affected.
Okay, finally, compensation is now the way the world moves, and you are saying that you'll look at this?
Yeah, so what we are aware of is that when the service was off, people would have been using their mobiles, and when you're using your mobiles and using the data on there, they may have burst through whatever package or tariff they were on, and therefore they could have incurred significant amount of cost over and above what they would normally incur. So what we've said is we will look at all of the bills and where there's been excess cost or overage, if you like, because of the loss of service, we will issue a credit for that. So what we don't want is people to, they've used their mobiles, which means they've been able to access the internet, etc. We don't want them then to be penalised for the fact that they've actually used their mobile to do that.
And you're relaxed with how it's all gone, as I say, lessons learned, but
this is not a situation that we could have predicted and you'd ever want to go through. So not relaxed until I'm very clear. Why did it happen? How well did we react? Could we have done anything better, and the corrective actions that we need to put in place? When we've done that and we've got the plan completed, that's when I'll be more relaxed.